Live. Hi.
Hi.
I'm so excited for this. So today Christina's traveling, so we didn't want to miss our live, and we set up this amazing interview that we're having with Ana. Ana is in a hold on. My Facebook on my computer just started talking to me. All right, let's quit that. So Anna's here. She's been a client of mine for about 4 months now.
Yeah.
She runs her own business. I'm actually wearing earrings that she made, and looking at my beautiful plants and pots that she made as well. So we are so excited to have you here because you are just like a living, breathing example of what it looks like to stay committed and consistent to the work, and how rapidly results can come when you stay consistent, even when it's hard, even when you're in the trenches. And I just want, we all need that proof. We all need to see that other people are doing it, that it's possible. And so I'm really grateful for you sharing your time with us today to share a little bit of your story. So I'd love for you to just start by introducing yourself, telling us a little bit about you, a little bit about your business. Give us a lowdown.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. I'm so flattered. My name's Ana. I have a business called La Luna Coyote, and I started in the midst of COVID, and things have been going so well, and I love it. I needed a little bit of help though, and that's kind of how you and I met, and that's where our journey started. It was really about finding time for my business, and then really truly understanding that having a coach for myself was the real luxury. I mean, it is so luxurious now that I'm in it. And certainly, there's some discomfort when it comes to change and trying to grow and everything. But in my experience, it's been such a luxurious experience to kind of have someone in my corner, have someone hold me accountable, have someone who genuinely cares about me, and taking that in as a person, and then being able to kind of turn it around and share that in my business. And one of the things that we've talked about when I first started with you was kind of that I was feeling insecure about how I was going to show up for my business. Like, how do I show up as myself, or like what version of myself, or like, what does that look like? And just kind of having no clear direction in that way. That was something that was intimidating. And then also finding joy in my business, because one of the things that you say to me is like, yeah, you can have decision fatigue. Right. So I think I was just experiencing that, and then just maybe working a little bit too much. And so learning how to pull back a little bit, learning how to take care of myself better, and therefore take care of my business better, and therefore show up for my business and my audience better. Right. So that's just kind of like a little bit about me, a little bit about our relationship.
Yeah, I think we really found, working together that, and this is something I want other entrepreneurs to know as well. It's like, if you're not well, your business is not going to be well for long. Like, your business is a reflection of you, and your ability to show up consistently for your business is a reflection of your own wellness. And
yeah, I think that my understanding of independence was that I did everything alone. And I'm new to entrepreneurship, but I learned real quick that doesn't really work. That doesn't fly. And it's kind of like, it takes a village, And so right around the time, or actually at the time that I had started speaking to you, I was in a position where I wanted to invest some of my profit into either marketing, paying an outside company to do marketing. And I had you in my line of sight, and kind of having a personal coach, that was for me and my business. So kind of sitting with those two options and trying to figure out like what my best choice was going to be. It seemed to me that if I could figure out how to take care of myself first, and this, and really understand the luxury of that as a business owner, because you end up taking on so much, and the idea of owning your own business is often romanticized. And then a lot of people get there and they fail because they are missing a lot of tools that aren't really kind of given to us as we are growing in our lives. And so really sitting down and trying to understand what was going to be best for me, I thought to myself, you know what? If my business doesn't work, having a relationship with you, and therefore a better relationship with myself, and going down this road will be fulfilling, and I'll get my money's worth, so to speak, for a lifetime, for instance, versus like scrounging every dollar together and trying to put it into marketing so my business blows up. So I really wanted to work on the foundation of my business, which as an entrepreneur is yourself. And I think that's where I found truth for myself, was that in order to show up as a business owner to the best of my ability and make good decisions and put out the best things possible, I really had to start with myself. And I mean, I'm like so pleased with how things are going lately. And so I'm 100% confident I made the right decision, and I'm really grateful that I did. So
me too. You are just like, not only are you getting incredible results, but you're just a joy to work with, because it's not I can't get the results for you. And like you said, this is a relationship between us. This is a partnership. And it's like, I hold space, I give support, but you're implementing the strategies. And I love what you said about, I thought independence is doing everything on your own. And I think a lot of us think that. And, you were building a business sort of based on the kind of hustle culture that you were in design before. You were bringing that structure and that mentality into your business, because like you said, we don't know otherwise. I mean, we bring what we know in, and that's why a lot of entrepreneurs do struggle and fail, because they want to create this life of freedom and flexibility and creativity, and then they're just bringing in these old structures that aren't creating space for that. And in the past few weeks, you've really gotten support from your community. You've been asked to do multiple events, and you have people supporting you in those events. You are growing your business in a way that's really amazing. But before we get into all of your results, I want to start really back at the beginning. What was when you started this work? And I know you said, you were choosing between, do I invest in a personal coach that could help me in my business, or do I just invest in marketing? But what was your biggest problem before really jumping into this work?
It was absolutely trying to see clearly what my next move was. And I don't mean just, in a big way. I meant even in little ways. That decision fatigue had trickled into every aspect of everything that I was doing, that it was just becoming so difficult to see anything because it was too foggy. So I would say one of my biggest challenges was just seeing things clearly versus now. Seeing things clearly, and then, finding joy in work again. I had allowed myself to become such a workhorse and really obsessive over things that naturally you would as a business owner. And then, but not being able to see the big picture. and not being able to really understand the value of how I treat myself in my free time, right? Like how I pivot for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I already know that I can give amazing customer support. I already know that I want to treat everyone who comes across me like a queen or king. I already know that I produce like great products and I love them. They're one of a kind, all of those things. But I really didn't know how to treat myself sort of as an employee. I didn't know how to show up as a boss for myself,
Mm.
even though I felt like those two things,
Wow.
I had a career prior to this and I had no problem doing that. So I really ultimately didn't know how to show up for myself. And I didn't know how to take care of myself and accomplish all my goals.
Mm-hmm. God, I just love the way that you word things sometimes. Like, we don't know, nobody teaches us how to be our own boss, especially when we're used to being an employee. But even when we are like managing other people, it's not the same as managing ourselves, And this really stems to like a lot of the work that we've done revolves around self compassion. And like we can offer lots of times other people compassion in a way that we cannot offer ourselves. We are like willing to let other people off the hook and see their humanity while not extending the same grace
Yeah.
to ourselves.
And I think that's a people pleasing thing. And I think it's a very female thing as well. We're kind of, made to take care of everyone around us and then not ourselves. So when you're the one calling all the shots and doing all the work, um, I would bet that a lot of people find that they can't keep up.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel really good about the fact that I can keep up now.
Mm-hmm.
And we can go into that later if you want. But yeah, I think it's just a learning curve. And we don't know, like you said, we just don't know how to take care of ourselves first. It seems like such a crazy risk and idea because we're really, it seems so like far, like, "Ah, I can't do that. No,
Right.
I have to make sales,
Yeah.
and that was exactly the state of mind that I was coming from when I started with you, for sure. Was like, I have to make sales or I can't keep this afloat and I have to do all these things. And those things are true. You have to make sales to keep your business going. Um, but that being the focus isn't always going to be fruitful. And, then it leads into one of my favorite discussions that we talk about is expectations.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Mm,
It's really, yeah. So what you're describing is like so true for so many people. We don't have clarity. And so we just start doing shit. We just start like the more it's like when we don't have clear direction, we do more shit. We create more work for ourselves.
mhm.
We run ourselves ragged because we don't have clear goals. We know we want to sell more, right? Like that's the goal, but like we don't have clear systems to get there. We don't have clear processes. And so we just fill our days with busy work to make it feel like we
Yes.
are creating progress, to make it feel like we are moving towards an outcome that we want, when in reality we're just running ourselves into the ground and in the same moment convincing ourselves that we don't have a single second to dedicate to ourselves and our wellness, to pause and take a step back. And this is something Christine and I talk about all the time too. It's like people are afraid if they slow down at all, everything is just going to disappear.
Yes.
The business is going to blow up. No more sales are going to happen. And it's this mentality of like exchanging direct hours for money. And
Yeah.
like the way that the universe works, it doesn't have to be like that, right? Like you make sales just by putting out the energy of like, I love this shit. And I think that's one of the like hugest shifts I've seen in you in terms of your actual work and the product that you're producing. It's like you went from in the very beginning, we laughed about this a couple weeks ago of like, oh, like, how you guys do, I thought this thing was cute. Do you guys think that this is cute? Like, would you
Yeah.
maybe like to buy this, to like, I know the shit is excellent. This is one of a kind. It's gorgeous. It's gonna, and you like are now doing these lives on your Instagram and selling out. How many products did you sell the other night?
I don't know.
I mean, like every single, she does these crazy lives where she'll like just display like these one of a kind products that she has that she's not going to post on her website. And every single one she holds up, it's like, I want that, I want that, I want that. Just like the whole, it's like an amazing way that you have found to connect with people, which is what you wanted to do in your business, and to
Yeah.
sell that. It's just like beautiful, the evolution of it. And to see you step into owning your products and knowing like you're not asking other people to validate what you're doing.
Yeah. I started with you 4 months ago or so, and I was definitely insecure and I wasn't sure how to show up. It felt so personal. It was one thing in my career before to show up like, yeah, of course you want to, buy what I'm selling. And that was me as a designer. It was like services and goods, but to try and show up from things that I was creating felt so personal. And it was hard to say like, this is amazing and this is gorgeous. Of course you want it. I didn't know how to do that. It was like it was in the back of my mind. And then also kind of feeling like, well, you should be humble about your work. And you should, don't get a fat head, and as if that being confident was in the same thing, So it's just like all these really limiting beliefs that were stifling me, and learning how to let them go and then replace them was a huge step. So yeah, I do. I show up for my business in an entirely different way. And that was the whole point, was to find out how to authentically represent myself. And that's where the confidence comes from. And that's, I think, too, why how my work looks has changed. Because I figured out how to show up for myself first.
Yep.
And the power and confidence that comes with that is gonna far exceed any perfect, marketing scheme that you think you're gonna come up with that's gonna like crack open the pot for you.
Right.
At least for me, I'm sure there's plenty of brands out there who don't need to like authentically connect with their businesses, but for me that was super important. And yeah, I freaking love like everything I've got going on right now, and then also too, like doing a live. In the past, I would have had like expectations, and the pressure and anticipation of those expectations probably would have exhausted me, and I wouldn't have shown up truly myself, versus saying, I don't know how this is going to go, but I'm just going to go out on a limb. Like, I'm confident in showing up. I'm confident in my products. I love what I'm doing, and I'll just see what happens. Yeah. I had no idea that last week was going to be what it was. I had no idea. I thought, oh my gosh, I'm sure a couple of my friends or something will show up, and it'll be cute, and I can get my feet wet a little bit. I had no idea. I mean, by the end of that, and I had to like cut it off. I was like sweating, and I was like, after I got off, I was looking at my notes, and I was like, how am I going to read this chicken scratch? Like, I just had no idea. And it was wonderful. And, and had it not gone that way, it would have been great too, because like I said, I just wanted to kind of like dip my toe in and see how I felt about it without any expectations of sales per se, but just the idea of that, like, I felt like showing up, and it felt good. And that's all I needed.
I mean, we do, like the first week or two that we were working together, you had never been live before. And you were like, you were just like trying to like figure out how you were going to do it, what you were going to talk about. You were like so stressed, and you just appeared so effortlessly and so naturally. And it was just like, people were obviously buying off of your fucking vibe. Like obviously the product is gorgeous, but it's still you. And you've even noticed that, right? It's like,
yeah.
I don't understand why people are not buying the same way off my website, but they love, as soon as they see me, they buy. And that's really a part of owning your own business, and why doing the inner work is important because people are buying you. They're buying because they're connected to you, and that's what they want, especially now when we're like creating the metaverse and we're also separate. Like people want that connection. And it's
Yeah.
important.
There are so many tools out there that will swear that they've got, they've cracked the code on like how you're going to show up. And I could never at the time figure out like, how do I show up online for my audience? Because I was so used to working with people in person. I literally would be inside of people's homes. That could be quite possibly the first time I met them. So it was already such a personal exchange. And there was so much for me to see. I could see how they lived, what their style was, how they lived. Were they casual? Were they conservative? Whatever it was. So there was a way for me to figure out how to help them based off of who they were. And that's how I function. So to turn it totally around and say, well, how do I just function without knowing who I'm looking at? I'm not there with everyone. How do I sell and just not even so much sell, like, yes, but really how do I show up to an audience? And one of the favorite things that you've ever said to me was that you show up as yourself, and who's meant to see it and who it's meant for will be there. If it's not meant for them, and if they're not meant for you, then that's it. So you don't have to worry about this idea of like, who is it? How can I help them? How do I cater? That's what you do as a designer. So this finally has become an opportunity for me to say, who am I as a designer? And what does that look like? Yeah. And authentically show up as myself. And now we know and we see what a beautiful thing that has turned into, and what gorgeous sales. And now that I have sales, it's not even the point. I'm just so happy to make people happy.
Right.
I'm just happy that people like what I'm putting out. Like, it feels good to just like, oh, you love my stuff. Well, and not to say like, well, who could blame you? Like,
but yeah, I mean, okay. I think the key here is that there is not one size fits all. There is not one like easy, simple solution that will like bolster your sales or, make you
follow the algorithm.
Right, exactly. It is really tapping into what is it that I'm trying to accomplish here? What are the blocks that I need to work through in order to get there? And how can I create a sustainable system to show up consistently for my business? And so I guess, so we talked about sort of like biggest problems before starting, really like pushing through that decision fatigue, lack of confidence, sort of lack of direction and like clarity, and really struggling to feel happy in this business and life that you were creating. And so moving now, like so it's been about 3.5 months that we've been working together. What are your favorite results that you've gotten out of this work?
My absolute number one favorite thing that I've learned and practiced constantly is to have compassion with myself. To have compassion with myself, because for me, being hardworking was attached to being a hard ass, right? My expectations of myself were so high that often it was impossible to accomplish because I didn't know how or when to slow down and actually just like appreciate what I had done already. Appreciate where I was. Understand that your expectations might keep you in a position that is stiff, and as a business owner, and I think as a human, it's really important to understand how to flex.
Yep.
And go with the flow. And so practicing compassion with myself allowed me to get to that point where now the luxury of owning my business and changing my schedule and deciding when my free time is and deciding how I show up is a gorgeous and luxurious thing. But had I not really understood and practiced compassion with myself, learn when to slow down, when to flex, when to push forward, and really all of that is just learning how, I always say chapter 1, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
It's like you have to be able to get to a point where you turn the boss off.
Yep.
And you become a person and you quiet down enough and the answers will flow. So that is the in long story. That is my favorite thing, is really it's having compassion for myself, and how many more gifts come along with that practice.
I think, yeah, wow. I mean, that's just totally like a mind blower there, because the way that you talk about turning the boss off and like recognizing that you're a person, um, I think we so struggle with this sort of identity, like whether we're a mom or we're a caretaker or we're a teacher or we're a business owner, whatever these like blanket identities we throw on ourselves, we sort of become wrapped up and consumed in them. And if you are only taking this, like, if you're not considering yourself as a whole, and because, right, you're not, all of you is not a business owner.
Yeah.
That's true, you know? And so if you're fragmenting your identity, but taking it as a whole, it's going to be really hard, right? Because then once you turn it off, it's like, then who am I? So like really identifying that there is a person underneath all of this that needs love, needs time, needs rest, needs joy, needs compassion, just like any other human, it becomes a lot easier to say, oh, wow, not only have I not been doing that, but like, where can I create more space to treat myself like human?
Yeah.
And two, you're describing like setting expectations or setting goals that are just like, we want to set goals that are stretchy. We want to stretch, we want to get uncomfortable. But when we're setting these goals that are frankly not attainable, like we can have like a big life goal. Like, I want to get here, I want to make 6 figures, or I only want to work half the year, or whatever it is. Like, I want to work 3 days a week, I want to work 4 hours a day. Like, we can have those big stretchy goals, but we need little goals along the way to get us there. And when we
Well,
set, yeah,
and just to add to that too, have goals
yeah,
and have ideas of how you're going to get there, but learn when to drop those expectations, because if it's not working, holding on to that is going to take you into a place that isn't going to work for you.
yep, totally.
Being able to say like, oh, here's the current over here, I didn't know it was going to look like that, and just jumping onto it.
Yep.
And letting it go, you're going to waste so much less energy than trying to force yourself into the ideas and expectations of what is going to get you there. It's not always that way.
Right.
And in life and in business and in relationships.
Well, I think that's the difference too between a goal and an expectation, right? So like a goal is like, I want this end result. The expectation is how you're going to get there. And so that's a lot of the work that Christine is really great at, is like shifting. Like, we have a plan, but if the plan's not working, if we're getting feedback that the plan isn't working, we revise it. We don't say, wow, this is a failure, this isn't going to work, I can't get there. We pick a new plan, right? It's like, if we get lost, we don't just sit down wherever we got lost and stay there and expect to get, we can't get back, and we can't get to where we're going either. So it's this constant idea of like being open to rerouting. And when you change these expectations and change like the needing to know exactly what everything's going to look like and how to get there, then you don't feel like a failure all the time. Then you're really just exploring the territory and using the feedback to create better systems, better plans, to get you there faster, and maybe a way that you didn't initially realize.
Absolutely. For me, it was letting go of a lot of control over certain things. And still keeping my goal in my peripheral, but understanding that perhaps my method of getting there was open to flexibility and kind of just riding with the tide and seeing where it takes me. And that has led me to more success than anything. And everyone's going to be different, but for me, that's worked out really great lately. And I have space to breathe from my own self.
That's okay. So this is another huge thing that I want to hit on. Like, I feel like the most important thing that I am offering to future clients is this idea that you can have more by doing less. You can still be very successful while not filling up your days with just shit to do. And I want to hear how that's been going for you.
Oh my God. Love it. I love it. The best, let's see, the best way I can probably just describe it is to say getting organized in the way where there is a level of flexibility and there is room to breathe. And then also tracking my cycle and using that to plan how my workflow will go, right? Because before I was just go, 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 go. There was no room for breathing, let alone understanding that there's 2 weeks out of the month where I'm going to be go, 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 and it's going to be freaking awesome. And there's going to be 2 weeks out of the month where it's going to be it's going to be harder. But there's other things that I can do that I'm better suited to do at that time.
Right.
So, yeah, so I think it's just kind of laying out the goals, right? So, what I'll do at the beginning of each month is like my intentions, and for my business and for my personal. And then at the beginning of the week, laying out my intentions for my personal work and for my business. And then having like lists of things that I can do and giving myself the luxury every day of like, if I wake up and if I've just got like a headache and, you know, being on the computer is not going to work and that's what I had scheduled, I know that that's okay because I already have listed out what I want to accomplish this week. So for today, I'm going to go do something outside that's physical that I don't have to like squint and stare at a screen, for instance. This is just an example, but giving myself just ways to relieve pressure, ways to pull back. Makes me function on a level that I couldn't have touched before. I do less and I do more at this. I don't know how. I mean, you're better at explaining it, I'm sure, but I literally, what it is like I figured out how to work smarter.
That's it.
And it has nothing to do with anyone else but me, and even down to something as personal as my cycle. It works for me. It's just for me. What a glorious luxury to, you know, in my mind, I'm just like, when I think about how I function and work now, I just am like in awe sometimes because it is for me. And then in turn shows up in my business in that way, like, ooh, luxury.
Yeah, I really do think it translates. And I think, I mean, really, this is the core of the work that we do. It's like we create so much. It's people are shook when they find out that they can have more by doing less, but it's because you're doing so much that you don't need to be doing. When you look at what your goals are, what is it going to take me to get there? You realize you're doing a whole bunch of shit that's not getting you there. And you also realize that you're listening to a lot of external sources. And it's like, okay, you know, the key to getting more clients or getting more engagement is to message 50 people a day. Well, if you've been doing that and you find out it's not working for you, don't keep doing that. You know,
and then you beat yourself up and you're like, why isn't it working for me?
Exactly.
Because you're not understanding that, again, chapter 1, like, be quiet and let yourself have room to breathe and think, and then you might find something new. Nobody told me to do lives. Nobody told me to do some of the things that are working for me. I just kind of went with the flow and tried some things out that felt good for me and had nothing to do with anyone else and had nothing to do with anyone else's expectations. It was about what works for me. And that's how I can show up authentically And that's how everyone enjoys everyone the most. Nobody wants someone who's like, look at the sham wow, everybody 2 for 20. It's like,
I think that's totally right too. And I think another like beautiful side effect of creating space, creating intentional space, is that you have the energy to try new things. When we are so burnt out, hold on, Walter's being a little whiny. Give me a second. When we're so burnt out, we don't have the energy to try new shit. We don't have the energy, and we really, bottom line is we don't have the energy to fail, because we don't have the energy to pick ourselves back up. And so we're not in a space of exploration. We're not in a space of curiosity. We're not in a space of receiving inspiration and acting on it. We are blocked to any other possibilities than what it is that we're just grinding through right now.
because we're subscribed to the idea that you have to grind yourself into the ground in order to receive success.
Exactly. That's the old paradigm. Like, fuck that. And so like that's another side effect of creating intentional space in your day. It's like you get to try new shit.
Yeah.
And it gets to be fun, and it's supposed to be. And yes, like things are still going to be hard. There are probably going to still be things in your business that you don't want to do. And that's a gift of growing, is that the bigger you get, the more you get to outsource those things that you really don't want to do, because your time becomes more and more valuable. But the root of it really is, we get to take out all this shit that's not taking you toward your goals. And you get to plan your time intentionally so that you are planning with your energy, creating systems that actually work for you, and really getting more. It's not that you're actually doing more, you're getting more done, and you're making more progress, all while working fewer hours, because you are planning intentionally. And sometimes we think, if you're working 50 or 60 hours a week, it's like, well, I don't have an extra hour to plan out my week or my month. But it creates, my weeks like are full, my days are full, and yet I feel like a spaciousness in it. And like I always have time for everything, because I take an hour let's see, how much, I probably take 2 hours to really plan out everything in a month, to have this feeling of spaciousness. And I love how you could just keep using luxuriousness, to have this like gift of knowing what you're going to do and how you're going to do it and what kind of energy you're going to have when you get there and what you're going to need. It's just like, it is a gift. It becomes like, it's like, how is it this easy? And how did I not know how to do this before?
And really all it is, it's figuring out how to cater to yourself, right? And it's figuring out how to listen to yourself and cater to yourself. I think practicing and learning how to do that, how to really like schedule for myself and listen to myself, actually it's opened me up creatively.
Yep.
Whereas before it was like, I have to be creative, I have to pay the bills, I have to make all the products, I have to brand all the products, I have to update the web, all that stuff. And it was just this tyrant, versus now where I'm like, all right, well, let's see what I'm going to work on at this moment. I've got a little bit of flexibility. And then there's so much space for creativity, because I'm not, cracking the whip.
Yep.
I can't crack the whip and be a creative person.
Right. Yeah. And we can't we can't say, okay, now you're being creative. We can't like
right.
put ourselves on drums. Like, it doesn't work like that. We have to create intentional space. And like, no matter what business you're running, you need to be creative. That's it. And honestly, I believe like no matter what life you're living, you get fulfillment in creativity.
Big time.
And ingenuity and receiving and implementing downloads. And that's why I'm just so passionate about this work, because I want people to know that it's possible. And I want more people to actually realize this vision of freedom that they have for themselves when they began their entrepreneur journey. Because like I said at the beginning, right, if we're just bringing those old systems in, we're not going to have the kind of freedom that we envisioned. And so, all right, I want to wrap up here because I don't want to take too much more of your time. I guess, let's see. Let's finish up with this question. Like, if somebody were on the fence about, so we have a course coming out that really does, like, we've been working one-on-one, right? But does a lot of the work that we've been doing together. And so if somebody were on the fence about investing in this work and investing in themselves and their business in this way, what would you tell them?
God, did they miss all of what I just said? Like if they're just tuning in, rewind. But I mean, it's a personal choice. You really just might or might not be in a position to invest in yourself. For me, it was really just about um investing in myself and trying that instead of the other methods that I had been using that weren't really fulfilling for me anymore.
Uh-huh.
So I found that I was, like maybe I should just try something I haven't tried before. It's hard to um, feel 100% confident in something that you haven't tried before,
Yep.
right? But it's like if you don't take some risks sometimes, especially when it comes to investing in yourself, if you don't take some risks sometimes to try some new methods, like you have who to blame when you're still beating your head against the wall. And I mean, if for no other reason, learning how to have compassion with yourself and show up better for yourself isn't it, then maybe it's not the right time. But God, I hope they do it. I mean, and I've told my friends about you too. I feel like I talk about you all the time, like, oh my God, Maggie said this to me today, you guys, and it made me feel this way or that way. It's kind of just like having a best friend in your corner that has the right things to say. And also when you're paying for something, it's like your money, you show up for it.
Yep.
You
That's
want
right.
your money to show up for you.
Mhm.
So you have to show up for yourself,
Yep.
do some of the work. And I think probably if anyone has like some of the misconceptions I probably had with the idea of like coaching was that like someone was going to like tell you what to do and be like overly like excited and enthusiastic and like come on you can do it and just kind of have this personality set or expectations over what you need to be doing and that it's what they want you to do and all these things were really, and my experience with you has just been kind of uncovering what my goals are and figuring out how to ask myself the right questions so that I could just hear the answers within myself that were already there. And it's really just stepping back from society and methods that we're used to and rewriting those a little bit better for ourselves. So, I mean, if that doesn't sell someone, then it's like you say, it's not meant for them.
No, I think you're so right. And I really appreciate you saying that. And it is like why I believe in this work so much is because it's individualized and it's specialized. And like there is not a one size fits all approach, said that a million times, and really creating the intentional space to listen to what is going to fucking work for you.
Yes.
How we create sustainable systems. My sustainable systems don't look the same as yours do, right?
Right.
I know the framework for how to create them, and that's what I get to share. And I get to share how to unpack the mind and unpack the belief sets and reframe all of that on the inside and give some of the external like frameworks for how to create sustainable systems, but they're always going to look different. And that's why I really love this work and why I love working with people like in one-on-one containers and in group containers because you need that individualized support. It's not, it's you got to have the touches because it's all about you and how it
Yeah.
fits in with your own life.
Yeah. It's not like a checklist of this is what you
Uh,
do in order to get success because this is what I did kind of, you
exactly.
know, cheat sheet. It's not that at all.
No, and it
Um,
needs to be modified. Like, right? I think that's another huge part of this is if at first it doesn't work, that's to be expected. Like it's not like we're shooting for the bullseye on the first try. to create a real sustainable system, like, we worked with your calendar a few different times before we found the one that was like, okay, now I
Yeah.
figured it out and it's working. Like, it takes time and it takes commitment. And that's, why I really asked you to come on today, because you showed up even when it was fucking hard. You showed up when you didn't feel like it. And the results that you've gotten are living proof of what happens when you do that. And so I'm just so happy to be working with you and to be in your energy and to just get to, learn from you as well, and really get to celebrate all of these fucking huge wins that you've accomplished in a really short amount of time. So I'm super grateful for you being here today and sharing your story with us.
Absolutely. You know, I love you.
I love you
I
too.
love you, girl. Don't make me cry.
All right,
Yeah.
y'all. So that's all we got for today. Unless you got any last words, Anna, you can tell us where to find you so that people can look up your cute shit for Christmas.
Yeah, my business name is Laluna Coyote. You can just type that into Google. And then I'm Laluna_Coyote on Instagram. And you can pretty much just type Laluna Coyote anywhere and I will be there.
Yeah, I just placed yesterday. I did a bunch of Christmas shopping on her site. So I'm really excited to get all those gifts.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks for tuning in, y'all. As always, if you have any questions, leave them below. And I really hope that this inspires you to take some action, invest in yourself, believe in what's possible for you. Because it all is. It all fucking
Yeah.
is.
And I'll say this on closing. I freaking can't wait for when we meet every week. I'm like, oh yes, it's my day. It's like my luxurious time for me to be like, well, this is what I went through. It's
I love
great.
it. Yeah. Our sessions always run a little bit long because we just like,
I know.
there's just so much there, and there's just so much momentum in the work that we're doing. And it's because like you show up and I show up and we're both fucking there,
Like, do this shit.
Yes. And we get the results.
The show.